Should children be supplemented with selenium? Kelly wants to know. So here's something interesting. I'm glad you brought this up. This depends. So depends on the age of the child, and it depends on the breast milk, whether or not they were breastfed. So breastfed, or I should say breastfed, I should say breast milk. Breast milk, human breast milk, let's clarify, human, has 5 times the selenium content. So 5 times more selenium than cow's milk. Okay, so when you're looking at should children be supplemented, I would say it depends on what the children's diet is, especially if it's an infant or smaller child that's still breastfeeding. And if mom's selenium content is doing well, that breast milk is going to be very potent with selenium for that baby. But if you're doing, cow's milk for your child, then you might consider that and look at the diet in other ways and see if there's enough selenium coming in from foods that is going to overcome that. In that regard, a good children's multivitamin with selenium would not be a bad idea. If you want to look at something that's gluten-free, you can look at our gluten-free kids multivitamin that we have as well. What's the condition that? I'm not sure I understand that question, Jason. I don't know what that term is that you're using. Robert wants to know, Robert says, my doctor won't test selenium. Fire him and hire a new one. Look, if your doctor won't measure nutrition, how much doctoring can anyone really do when they're not measuring fundamentals? Nutrition is fundamental to human health. Are stretchy hypermobile joints linked to selenium double jointed as in Ehlers-Danlos syndrome? No, not really. So you're not going to have necessarily a more hypermobile joint as a result of selenium deficiency. It's actually quite the opposite. You're going to have stiffer, more inflamed, and less mobile joints as a result of inflammation that's not repairing or healing. One of the mechanisms behind selenium in myopathy or muscle pain is that there are certain proteins that selenium makes in the inflammation and healing and repair process. And so selenium deficiency during that time will lead to an aggravated or an increased expression of inflammatory chemicals that bring fluid into the joint, making it hard to, when you have fluid in the joint, you can't go through full range of motion, so you're actually stiffer, not looser. Let's see here. So if somebody's saying, Angelina's saying, I have high selenium without supplementing or eating Brazil nuts or not eating an aggressive amount of fish, what can you do to lower it? I would argue how you're measuring it. If you have high selenium concentration in your serum, that's not a super accurate way to measure selenium, although I would be also looking at the potential that you might be getting environmental selenium exposure from something else. Look at your hygiene products. Again, I mentioned dandruff shampoo earlier, but there are other products that can contain selenium that you might not even be thinking about that could be elevating that. So check out all of your other products. So Robert says, should we test for free testosterone and how often should we test? Mine was 341 5 years ago. That's low, Robert, depending on your age. I'm assuming if you're, middle-aged male, and your testosterone is 341, it really shouldn't really be much less than 600-700. Like that's a really healthy level for an adult middle-aged male. But if it's low, I would test it probably like every 6 months, depending on what you're trying to do to support your testosterone levels naturally with nutrition. But if it's not coming up, because if it's not coming up, you want to ask the deeper questions. Why is it not coming up? You need things like B vitamins and zinc and selenium to properly produce your own testosterone. You need magnesium to produce testosterone. So there could be a nutritional issue there for you that's contributing to that. It could also be a lack of exercise. You should also, though, ask your doctor to measure not just bound, like you mentioned, free testosterone is good, but also have them measure another hormone called SHBG, sex hormone binding globulin is what that stands for, and that hormone will bind to testosterone. It will make it less effective. So if you have high levels of sex hormone binding globulin and low testosterone, it's kind of like a double whammy. Jules, I like that. Since the beer bug hit, your channel took a hit since you were telling people the truth. Yeah, you know, the truth doesn't sell. What do they say that sells? If it earns, it burns, and if it bleeds, it leads. That's kind of the media thing. But if it's truth, that doesn't ever sell very well. People don't want to hear the truth. That's why we have the term cognitive dissonance. Let's see here. So Socrates from Austria says, I'm so stressed and depressed from the lockdown and the madness of the corona cult, cannot sleep, losing my voice, raspish, would selenium help me? Maybe, it might. Going outside would probably be the number one thing. What I've seen with a lot of these lockdowns is people being inside, away from the vitamin D, away from fresh air, so they're breathing in recirculated air, and the potential for VOCs and being emitted from, you know, furniture and paint and clothing and other things. So fresh air, get outside, find other people with your same mentality. Look, it doesn't matter what side of the COVID fence that you sit. Find people who are on kind of your same line of thought, and avoid like the illogical arguments that's why I quit talking about it a number of months ago, because nobody's going to be you're not going to please anyone with that conversation. So it doesn't really do you any good to engage in debate where the outcome is not fruitful for your health. That just creates more stress and more problems. So I would again engage it and hang out with other people who are like-minded, get more fresh air, get more sunshine, and probably a really solid multivitamin outside of that. Maintain your sanity through healthy eating and through exercise, which is what a lot of people have let go during this time. They've just quit eating right, and they've quit exercising, and so now they're paying a price, and their health is deteriorating, and then you add the stress on top of that, and it just it's just a snowball. Robert wants to know why doctors order serum instead of intracellular tests. They look at you like you have 12 heads. It's because their ignorance on nutrition really shines when you start asking them for accuracy. Look, the average doctor has 7 hours of nutritional training or less. That's an unfortunate truth in healthcare today, and but not all of them are that way. This is why I said earlier I wasn't kidding or being facetious. Like, if your doctor won't measure it, find a doctor who will. Like, find a doctor who understands nutrition to a much greater degree and is going to help work with you to support you in your health goals. Let's see here. Myofascial trigger points. Not sure I understand your question. Do you have myofascial trigger points and so you want to work on them? I mean, the best way to get rid of myofascial trigger points is to understand whether or not you have any mitochondrial dysfunction as it relates to nutritional deficit, CoQ10 deficiency, vitamin B deficiency, vitamin C deficiency. A lot of times people will get like massage therapy and they'll get all kinds of physical treatments, but their mitochondria can't generate adequate energy to allow the muscle to relax, so the trigger points just keep coming back redundantly over and over again. Now, selenium deficiency can lead to that, and so that selenium might be helpful in that regard, but again, testing would be even more helpful to help you determine whether it's selenium or selenium and other things. Okay, let's see here. Is there a link between chronic fatigue syndrome and gluten sensitivity? And if so, what can you do about it? There absolutely is a link between chronic fatigue. There have actually been a number of case reports in the medical literature showing chronic fatigue completely clearing up after changing diet. So what I would recommend that you do, if you're not aware that there is that link, you probably have not read No Grain, No Pain. So get you a copy of No Grain, No Pain, and I would just say plow through the book. It'll take you a week or less to read it if you're a reasonable reader, and then start applying the phase 1 and then the phase 2 diet. It's a 30-day diet, and most people with chronic fatigue feel much, much better once they put the diet fix into play. Let's see, Carrie wants to know how much is too much selenium? What are symptoms of too much? I think I covered that with mostly hair loss and nail growth problems. With selenium. So how much is too much? I would say if you're getting in more than 800 micrograms a day and you're not under any kind of supervision, as we talked about a minute ago, that's too high if you're working alone. So if you're working with a provider and they're monitoring your selenium level, then they may want to take you up to higher levels. So I would listen to the advice of your practitioner. Let's see here. Let's keep going down on the left. Okay, we got another one. How much selenium is a woman supposed to have daily? Again, if you're following just the general government recommendation, it's about 50 micrograms per day of selenium. But if you're deficient, it can take anywhere from 200 to 600 micrograms a day really to get it corrected. Mary wants to know, if a man had prostate cancer treatment, would he automatically be low in selenium? Depending on the kind of treatment. So, if you could, give me more detail on that. But just because he had prostate cancer treatment doesn't mean he's low in selenium, although there's a strong opportunity or strong chance that because he had prostate cancer that selenium deficiency actually contributed to the cancer. Now, certain chemotherapies and certain radiation therapies will basically deplete the body of antioxidants, right? That's part of what chemo and radiation do, is they act as free radicals to destroy cancer cells, but in the process also knock out your body's antioxidant defense mechanisms. And so, yes, it's possible that the treatment for the prostate cancer as well caused or contributed to lower levels of selenium. So kind of all the above there. Can salt give arthros? If you're referring to arthritis, not really. I mean, salt doesn't really cause arthritis. I mean, you can't be allergic to sodium. It's a mineral we all require in order to sustain our function. So I don't know why your doctor would have told you to cut out salt over arthritis, unless you were eating a bunch of processed foods that contained MSG and chemically loaded salts. That might be a good move to take or to make, but I don't know. I can't speak for why your doctor would have recommended you to cut out salt over arthritis. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. Pam says, do you know about Juice Plus? Yeah, I do, and I don't recommend it. Many of them are cross-contaminated with gluten, so if you're trying to follow a gluten-free diet, I think we sent one of those out to the lab a long time ago, and it came back contaminated. But I have a lot of, Pam, here's the real reason why. And they may have changed, again, I don't like to talk about other supplement companies because, number one, they may change their policy, they may change their procedure and how they produce things, and I don't have any control over that. But the reason why is I've seen so many people come to me and they're on the Juice Plus, and we test them, and their nutritional status is deplorable. Like, they're taking these vitamins, and then when we actually measure to see whether or not they're deficient, they're very deficient, despite the fact that they were using this product. And that's one of the reasons why I don't really recommend that particular brand per se. Let's see here. Dickerson asks, my sister's on synthroid and she's losing her hair. Possible reasons for that, since she wants to stop her synthroid. She may be being over medicated. Look, one of the symptoms of too much synthroid is hair loss. So ask her to have a conversation with the doctor to measure TSH. If TSH is less than 0.5, then let me put a space there for you. It was less than 0.5, then her medicine might be too strong, and that could be causing the hair loss. It also could be a selenium deficiency. Again, if she's taking that particular medicine, which is levothyroxine or synthroid, is T4. Remember, it's inactive. And so it has to be converted by selenium into T3. And so if she doesn't have adequate T3, then she may still be losing her hair, not because she's got too much, but because she's not converting the medicine very effectively. So it could be either one of those points. I would definitely ask her to talk with her doc about that. So does alkaline phosphatase in the liver, have anything to do with selenium and its effect on Hashimoto's? Well, alkaline phosphatase is an enzyme released by the liver, and if you've had your doctor measure it, sometimes it comes back elevated. and it's a marker, can be a marker for liver damage. So again, what did we say earlier? We said that the liver is the primary place, not the only place in the body, but it's the primary place. Okay, remember this? The liver is where we convert a lot of our T4 to T3. So if the liver's damaged, if you're an alcoholic, if you're on multiple medications processed by the liver and your liver's struggling, if you've ever been told you had fatty liver, if you've ever had an ultrasound of your liver and they're telling you have, early stage liver disease, any of those things are going to affect potentially the conversion of T4 to T3, and that's where an elevation in alkaline phosphatase might have an impact on, even if you have adequate selenium. Again, your liver cells still have to be healthy to get that conversion process done. Let's see. So Nancy, I can't tell you whether or not you should stop your Advair for asthma. I can just encourage you to have a conversation with your prescribing doctor about the potential for the steroid reducing your selenium levels and creating the potential for a problem. Remember, one of the issues too with airway inflammation is selenium regulates the inflammation process. So when you take a steroid to fight inflammation indefinitely, but you don't measure the nutrient deficiency component, you could actually end up recreating the same problem through a different mechanism. And so again, the good intent from the doctor could lead to the same process or the same problem. So it's just important to have that conversation and talk with your prescriber about that. Let's see here. Scroll down the left for me. Okay. Okay, yeah, a lot of off-topic stuff. I think this one's relevant right now. So somebody's asking me what I think about a preservative-free flu shot. I would say this, and again, this is a little bit off topic, but not really, because a lot of you are trying to improve your health, and a lot of you are worried about cold and flu season this year, and what's being really, really pushed right now is the cold and flu shot, and really not the cold and flu shot, but the influenza shot, the flu vaccine. Here's what we know about the flu vaccine. Preservatives or no preservatives, we know that the people that had COVID outcomes, we'll just call them worst COVID outcomes, okay, had the flu vaccine. I think one of the major studies that was done in the military was like 37% worse. So, you have to ask yourself, by protecting yourself from the flu, you actually make yourself more susceptible to coronavirus. And so if you're really worried about COVID or coronavirus, then a flu shot, which is, remember, even by the FDC's own admittance, on a great year, you're getting 30 to 50% efficacy. And is that worth increasing the potential of an outcome here? I would even go one step further and say, is it even worth it? If it only works 30 to 50% of the time, is that something that you want to do, is inject yourself, even if it's relatively preservative free? Is it something that you want to do, is inject yourself? I just, I have a hard time justifying that, because the best defense against a cold or a flu or a coronavirus or any other type of infectious microorganism is a healthy, nutritional, sound body and sound mind. So get your mind right, get your body right, eat well, and focus on the controllable variables of health. What are they, right? Clean food, exercise, sunshine, clean air, clean water, stress management, and sleep. And if you're doing your part in that regard, that's the best that you can do. Outside of that, the interventional injections, the vaccines, etc. I don't know if you've ever seen, I did a lecture series a while back on immune function. You should go back and rewatch that if you didn't. But that's the best thing that you can do outside of micronutrition. And we've known this for years. Where did we learn a lot of this on micronutrients and immune system function and health? We learned it in veterinarian studies because the farmers couldn't afford to lose their herds and their animals to massive crowding and diseases and spread of infectious diseases. So this is part of why we know so much about nutrition in animals, is because of veterinarian medicine, and we know just how critical these nutrients like selenium are in immune modulation and immune health. Okay, let's see here. I think we're just about out of time here, and we've still got a bunch of questions there. What I would say is, there's one other question. I think it came in early enough that I'll answer it. It's about facial spasms. Question was, my husband's on a no grain, no pain diet, doing really well, but having a lot of facial spasms and pain, taking magnesium as a supplement. Nicole, you know, the thing that I would recommend the most if there's a facial spasm issue, actually a couple different things. Number one, ask your doctor to do a full nutritional workup, and especially looking at all the electrolytes, calcium, magnesium, potassium, zinc. You want to look at all of those things and make sure there's not a spasm that's being created as a result of a nutritional deficit or an electrolyte disturbance. Number two, oftentimes facial spasms can be related to nerve compression in the cervical spine, which is, again, the area from about the base of the skull down to the top bone in the base of the neck. And so sometimes there could be a nerve compression or nerve pinch sensation that could be leading to facial spasms. So if your husband's never visited a good chiropractor, that might be another option to see if there's a physical or a structural problem that's contributing to that spasm. But nutrition and structure, right? Those are kind of two of the fundamental tenets of good health. So that would be where I would encourage you to go in that direction. All right, folks. Well, we're out of time tonight. Thanks for spending Monday evening with me. As always, if you're new to the show, this is your first time, just want to say welcome. Come stop by glutenfreesociety.org. Make sure you sign up for our newsletter. It's the largest gluten-free newsletter in the world. And when you sign up, we'll send you a whole bunch of free information about how to navigate properly the gluten-free diet and how to, use nutrition as a tool, as an ally on your journey and on your road to good health. So come by and visit us, and we'll get you hooked up with lots of great information. It'll also give you an opportunity to make sure you're getting emails when we do our live shows on Monday and other nights and other special occasions. So, look, folks, I wish you an excellent week. We'll see you next Monday night for another episode of Pick Dr. Osborne's Brain. Take care. Hey, if you've got a functional medicine or health question that you'd like me to answer for you, make sure you send me an email, glutenology@gmail.com, and we'll do our best to create a video answer just for you. Have a great day.